Hey everybody, how you doing? Good morning, or good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Damion Waldbrunn. I am the owner and creator of Realmer X, and I am currently running this campaign. Did you see here? Um, I didn't sleep well in preparation for this. I was making sure everything was ready, so sleep was not an option. But as far as the campaign is concerned, what I'm doing here is uh, I have collected, surprisingly, 25 years. Like this year is the 25th year of my character Realmer X, and I have collected essentially everything that I've ever created. Um, Everything. Uh, With the exception of probably like thousands and thousands of sketches that I did over the years, or small drawings, things like that. But I've collected the last like decade of those. So essentially, what I am doing is I wanted to do a Kickstarter. Kickstarter. Again, no coffee yet. I'm running on steam. Um, Fumes. Oh, anyway, it's been a bit of a cluster jam this morning because, unfortunately, as you see, I am alone. Um, my partner in crime here, Judge Jerry Hinds, he is MIA at the moment, uh, due to no fault of his own. Um, I My alarm died, and so after having a small burial, I got up, got ready, got everything going. This, however, is not indicative of the campaign. What I'm doing with the campaign is, have you ever had that person that inspired you, that first told you, hey, you can do this thing? You know, you always loved comics, you always loved the medium, you love the way you could tell stories with it, you love the just the everything about it, the comics of it. And for some reason you got that spark where you're like, I could do this. I can make my own. I could make a character of my own and introduce it to the world. Well, I did that, and showing my age, this is like 1997 by the time that I actually got to meet the gentleman that we'll be discussing. Uh, but I had put together a small ash can of Romer X and drove to Akron, Ohio, with a bunch of friends in the middle of the night. And I was the only person that really made comics. Like everybody liked comics, but everyone, I was like 8 people that just decided in the middle of the night, let's go to this convention right now. Let's do it. And so we just went. You know, the trappings of youth. And I'm gonna check real quick to see if Mr. Hines is in there. Oh, there he is. Okay. We may find out if he's joining us. Um. So I and some friends drove through the night to Akron, Ohio. We probably got there like didn't sleep, much like last night. Didn't sleep. Got there just in time for the con. In fact, I think that I don't even think went to the con on time. I think the con started maybe at like 9 a.m. and I ended up sleeping in the car for like 2 hours because I was like, I'm dying. I need to go like to sleep. And to illustrate uh, what a con to me at the time was, it was in a Holiday Inn. It was a two-room affair, small room that had two guests in it, two artists in it, and another small room that had a bunch of like vendors or local shops. I think maybe a local shop. I'm not sure. I didn't spend a lot of time there. What I spent the time in was in that main room because the line went out the door. I paid my $5 to get in, and I get in line, and I'm waiting there, and I think Jerry's with us. Hello, sir. How are you? I can see you, but I can't hear you. Nope. Still can't hear you. Just fine. I'm already live if you can hear me, so that's why I'm holding up my finger to the audience. Well, believe me, this is a man worth waiting for. It's worth your time to... There he is. I can hear him.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that, Damion. I didn't see your invitation come up.
I set an alarm, and my clock died.
Sorry,
and I woke up at 9:56 and went, I'm really glad I stayed up late and got everything ready. All right, time to get up, roll out of bed, and make it happen.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my volume a bit louder here.
No, go ahead. I was just explaining to the people at home that why I or how I met Chris Yambar. But basically, again, I went to this. I'll catch you up. So I was 1997. I was the only person in my peer group that did comics at all, and I say doing comics. It was me. I worked on full art board, and then made mini comics at Kinko's, and basically took my art, shrunk it super down, made little 8.5, not even 8.5 by 11. It was 5.5 by 8.5 mini comics, and would just pass them out or sell them or do look for a quarter here. And I just, whatever idea I had, I would just put together and make it into a book, and I would just give it away or sell it or whatever. But Realmer was something that I created when I was 17, and it came from my heart. It was not only was it the first character that I created, but it was it was me. It was me at 17 wanting to go out into the world and see the world and be an adult and live on my own, but being totally scared of that concept because I was 17 and had no clue what the world was like. And so, sorry guys, my camera setup's weird. My camera's here, my screen's here. I want to move my screen. That's a little better. So, yeah. So that's how I created the character. It was it was this piece of me, everything I wanted to be, adventurous and being able to understand how other people think. And it was really that idea of when you're 17, 18 and you have this idea of that everyone is sort of their own island and that there are places you can almost visit, and if you're just open-minded enough, you can really sort of visit that world. And that's what I did, was I took that concept of visiting other people's points of view and turned it into an idea for an omniverse.
Right.
And used this character, sort of me, in this scenario. So flash forward to 97 and 97 and 98. It's 98, and I know it's 98 because of the thing I'm going to put up here. So I drove all night long, a 6-hour drive with a bunch of friends to go to this convention. And by convention, I mean it was a Holiday Inn. It was a little in Akron, Ohio. And I'm not down on the Holiday Inn in Akron, Ohio. I'm just saying I went to larger cons since, but it was literally 2 rooms. One room had a bunch of vendors and the other room had 2 guests in it. And both people turned out to be very inspiring for me. And unfortunately, both of them have passed away. since then. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing at, wow, I'm old. I didn't realize I got so old so fast.
Can you say who you were?
Huh?
Can you say who you were?
No, not well. One was Chris Yambar, who is I'll get to him in a second because he's the one that we're kind of working on this. The other guy was Mike Waringo.
Oh, okay.
And I stayed in touch with both of them because this was the early, internet early days. So you could actually email people directly who had some sort of clout. And it was great. I mean, they both were very, really good guys, really explained to me like what, like I walked up to them with this book and I was like, hey, you're probably not going to want to see this, but here's my comment. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. I know everybody came to see you, but I came to see you too, but I'd just like you to be my friend and look at my comics. And they both were like, they both actually did the same thing, like at the same time, because they were sitting close together. They kind of looked at me and were like, buddy, no, don't do that. No, we want to see your book. Like I was like, ah! Like they saw my face kind of shattered and they were like, no. We want to look at your stuff. Just don't play yourself down. Like, do you see all these people in this room? And this was something Chris said to me. Yeah, Mike was real nice and he helped me talk to me about art stuff. And so did Chris. The reason that Chris kind of stands out a little more in my mind is Chris took me behind the table. And it was the first time I'd ever been to a convention at all. And he took me behind the table. And I sat down with him. And him and Mike both, but Mike got busy because he was Mike Waringo. He got busy and kind of doing his own thing. So me and Chris was busy too. So that was the thing, is because it was Ohio and that's where he's from. And it was like a lot of times his line was longer than Mike Waringo's. And he's done work in all any comic genre you can think of, he's done work in. But he basically was like, you can do this. You can do this. Don't talk yourself out of it. And, he kind of was like, it's okay to want to do this and make a living. Like, this is something you could pursue as a career. And I was like, huh? Like, I wanted to, and in 97, everybody was, everybody and their brother was, if you knew anything about comics, everybody was like, you had like, I'm gonna mess up his name, Trent Kanega doing Creed, who was like 17 at the time. And you had, Image, obviously been out for just a couple of years, but they were still exploding and picking up new people every week. Every new indie guy that came out, they were like suddenly at Image and they were doing their best work ever. And it was kind of like, it was the Wild West. It really was the Wild West of comics, because it was like anything that could be made was made, or was solicited and did get made, or anyway. So this guy who's I see his comics, he's doing this. I sit down with him and he talks to me, and he really explains to me, you have to have your heart into it, and is this who you are? Is this what you want to do? Is this part of you? And I was like, absolutely. Drawing's been a part of me since I was a child, since I was 3. I can remember drawing at 3 years old, and just I'd draw pictures and put them in my pocket and just keep them with me, because I meant, every drawing meant something to me. It was something close to me. And then I left, and I was like, I got his. He was one of the first people that had like their own website. It was great. So I had an address, and so I sent him a letter first, and I didn't get a response. So I found an email. First website, I was like, oh, he's got a website. Oh, he's got an email. Let me email him. He's like, yeah, I got it. I haven't had a chance to respond. I'm like, okay, sorry, I'm being weird. I apologize. But he really helped me not just see the comics was something that I loved and wanted to do, but could do, and could do my own way. Like it didn't have to be the cookie cutter mainstream Marvel DC. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it didn't have to be that if I didn't want it to be. It could be my expression of self.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. And, you know, over the years, we'd stay in touch and we'd lose touch. We'd stay in touch. But he had so many people that he really influenced that way. He would sit there and just talk for, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes in the middle of a busy con. Like I went and saw him a couple times at different cons. And he would just sit there and talk to people for like 45 minutes about art and comics and everything. This man worked on I Dream a Genie, Popeye, The Simpsons for years. Wrote Andrew. He did his own Mr. Beat comic for decades. Which if you haven't read it, no joke, seriously. If you haven't read it, get it. It's funny. It's good, funny, and it gave me a whole new respect for coffee. I could explain it, but I would do it a disservice to explain it. It's really worth the time and to read. But he's had, I'm kind of running off his resume a little bit. He has had paintings in the White House. He's a pop artist as well. And he's, was a very devout religious person and lived it, preached it, but didn't beat you over the head with it. It was, this is who I am and this is what I believe. And if you believe this way, you can believe with me, but I'm still going to love you if you don't. Like, I'm still going to be, your friend if you don't. I'm not going to be that guy. And which actually really helped me on my seeing someone live that way, that you didn't have to be, because I live in Kentucky. And so it's either people that don't talk about their religion because they're afraid they're going to scare people away, or it's people would literally, say you're the devil if you, eat fish on Friday. I mean, if you meat on Friday, you know what I mean? So we're in a weird place as far as that goes, but it helped me on my path for that as well. So in so many ways, this man really helped me. And he started to have some health issues. And it finally, he wasn't able to beat it. And so in earlier this year, he passed away. And it would be the second time because Mike Waringo passed away in 2008. Just suddenly, So two people that really helped and inspired me have passed away. Chris being the most recent. So you want me to hang on?
Sorry to hear that.
It's just hard when you're like, heroes die. It's one of those things, especially when it's someone that, at such a young age helped you realize the thing you wanted to do for the rest of your life. Like I knew I wanted to do art. I know I wanted to do something artistic, but I didn't know it was going to be comics until then. So I went, okay, this is what I want to do. Somebody that's doing it can see I can do this and help me understand that was possible. Right. Shortly after he passed away, they started a thing with words, a scholarship in his honor at Youngstown State University, which is where he's from. And I immediately thought of this. It's like, I'm making a transition next year where I'm going to be putting Realmer through the Thunder Zone. And I'm going to be, it's going to be something that I'm not sure exactly when, because we're doing a lot of work. I'm doing a lot of stuff in advance, making sure everything's done before I even touch it. Kind of like this book. This book's done. All it needs to do is go to the printer. Like, nobody has to wait for any of this. Did you want to share your screen so I can throw that up here?
Yeah, let's have a look.
I just realized I've been running my mouth, but I should probably pull up.
Okay. Can you see Realmer X's hand? Arm?
Yes. Woohoo!
Okay, so I'm here inking at the moment.
Like,
So like I mentioned to you about the syllabus that we use for our art classes here in Singapore. I'm using your Realmer X as a foreshortening exercise. So when I finish the notes, it will go from, okay, here's his skeleton. Okay, I'll make that a bit darker for you. Can you see this?
Yes, it can. If you
Okay.
want to, in fact, give me a second. Let me pop that up full screen. There we go.
Okay. So there is his skeleton. This will be the first step of the tutorial. We put the staffing. I always explain to the students that the weapon is very important to the stance. So here we see his bag. He's got his satchel and the staff. That goes in at the time of the skeleton, right at the beginning. It's very important. Then we get to the fleshing out. So I'll make that a bit darker. So that's going to be putting our basic cylinders, our shapes. Then we put the costume. This is where the detail kind of goes in. And then after that, then we get to the inks. So I'll knock these back a bit. There. And in fact, I only need the fleshing out here. Sorry, the costume. So here's the costume. I'm just inking.
That's really cool.
So I'm just doing the contours. I'm wondering if I should really spot this, like make it. I'm thinking of shading it in a very Western superhero style. I suppose Joe Madureira would draw quite manga-like, but then render more Western.
I think it'd be a very cool combination.
Yeah, I mean, since coming to live in Singapore, my art style in drawing changed quite a lot. In fact, I have different art styles for different things. When I was growing up, well, I always thought you must have a definitive style. And I still kind of believe that to some degree. But then when I discovered other kinds of, different kinds of characters provoke different emotions in me. So I started to actually experiment with different art styles given the genre. And I really enjoy it. It goes against everything that I grew up thinking. But I have such fun doing it that I can't stop doing it now. And when I look at Realmer X, he does make me think of quite a manga vibe sometimes, to be honest. Right now, I've got my reference that I did before. Okay.
That's a little by design because I wasn't big on anime, but manga. I really got into manga, and it definitely influenced some of my design work there. So I like that you picked that up. That's awesome.
Right, and I can't quite get my head around anime either. I can't really say that I read a lot of manga comics, but I do like some of the disciplines within the art style. I very much do like that. Now this staff, normally I'm using Clip Paint Studio, yeah? So typically I would use the straight line tool to do something like this, okay? But I remember I got Tom Palmer, Tom Palmer, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, the legend. And he inked one of my variant covers for me. And I can tell that he did not use any kind of straight edge tool. But everything still looked really cool, right? So I says to him, Tom, I love the way how you inked all of the wood. It looks great, but I know you didn't use a ruler. And you know what his reply to me was?
What?
He says, that's because not everything is a straight line.
True. True.
So after I heard that, right? So I have this I do try to ink sometimes in inorganic things without a straight tool. And like, I like the inking that has thick and thin variants. And I will do the thick and thin thing with variants, even with things like this stuff, which is quite metallic, quite inorganic. And, a straight edge tool would do this in 1/5 of the time.
I will not lie and say I don't use a straight edge tool. 99% of the time I do, but then when I go in like you're doing there, I love that because I'll actually go in and do that. I'll break up the line at the little, because it's supposed to be like a collapsible staff, but
Right.
rarely it collapse, and you don't know what it's made of exactly yet. You don't know what it's made of, so it's perfect to do this organic feel to it. I could watch you do this for an hour. I mean, no pun intended. Like, we're gonna be doing this for.
My wife and my daughter likes to watch me ink.
There's something.
They kind of zone out. They come and sit with me for a long time when I'm inking things.
Like, I can't watch those videos where people are cutting, cutting butter or breaking down styrofoam. They're like, "Oh, this is oddly satisfying." I'm like, "No, I can't. That doesn't satisfy me." This does. This I can sit here and watch and just be like, "Okay, yeah, I could totally like zombify watching this. This is great."
So when did you say you created Realmer X?
When I was 17.
Was that his name back then?
No.
The name changed slightly over time.
The character's name is Jared. It's JHERRYD.
Right.
And it's because I used to, my dad loved hard science fiction. And so he would leave books all over the house, especially in the bathroom. And I'd steal them. If he left them anywhere, I'd steal them. Not, just like a kid, be like, "Oh, this is great. I want to be like my dad." And then I really got into hard science fiction. And there's I can't remember the writer. I think it might be Robert Heinlein. He wrote a book about a guy who creates a device to go to different dimensions. And he ends up getting, his device breaks at some point. He gets trapped in a dimension where they don't have the letter J. Like, that's it. That's the difference between that dimension and every other. It's exactly like his, but they don't have the letter. And so I was like, well, it's got to be a J name. Like, in my head, I'm like, I've got to do a J name. This is great. And then I changed the E, like the double E sound. Oh, no, the oh, I forgot what it's called. The eh sound, like an ed. I changed it to a Y. So in any word in their language that has a second E in a sentence, with that S sound, it's a Y. And it's just like a weird affectation that I was like, I like this. This is cool. I'm a weird guy. Like, people know I'm weird, but I'm weird. I like thinking about these things and plotting out this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, I went like 18, 19, 20. I move out. I'm living on my own. And this is like the height of AOL. And they had AOL chat rooms. And I'd have friends that like to role play. And they'd invite me into these rooms. But if you didn't play as a character, you had to make a character. But if you didn't play as a character, they'd call you a Realmer. And like, it was this like slang derogatory term that for somebody that didn't belong.
Okay.
Like, and so I would kind of make this character up, and I'd go in these rooms, and it kind of helped role playing. It helped me kind of figure out who the character was in his mind. And people would call me a Realmer, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I am. I'm a Realmer. And it stuck. It just really stuck. Now there was a game called X Realm for a while that it was real popular. I think it might have been a role playing game. So I shied away from the name for a while, but then I realized why. This is not, and it wasn't Realmer X at that point. It was just Realmer.
Right.
which people still couldn't get right. It was like real myrrh. What's myrrh? Is that like frankincense? I'm like, store. Where'd you get religion from? Like, this is not, not that you can't find religion in a comic book store. Let me tell you that. Anyway, yeah, it's been a theme today. I apologize. See, don't apologize. So that's something Chris taught me. Don't apologize for who you are. Like, be who you are. It's okay. If people don't like you, they won't be around you, and that's okay too. It's all right. Everybody's got their stuff. So, yeah, and it became Realmer. He was a Realmer, and I realized the name Jared was a great name, but a bad title, and so I went with Realmer. And the X sort of popped up because his abilities are not traditional sort of superhero abilities. It's not a mutation or anything like that. It's something that all Realmers can do, which is travel in my omniverse. And I say my omniverse because this isn't, even when I cross over with people, I don't necessarily put this into play unless like whoever else I'm working with really wants me to. Every universe vibrates at its own frequency. And
that is so geek.
Well, you vibrate at the frequency. Like if our universe is vibrating, which they say it is, we're vibrating at the same frequency.
Yeah.
So what Realmers do is they change their frequency, and they acclimate to that. Not acclimate. They're able to use their they're able to go to other dimensions because of it. Like they use science to tap into it. And then they jump to a new reality. But when they're there, they don't get affected like we would. Like if we're here, we're in a mostly like science-based reality, let's say. So if we went to a magic-based reality and we had an artificial heart, it may stop working after a given amount of time. Yeah. Because the physics of it aren't the same. Yeah, if you think about it, if you really break it down, you could figure out a way to make it work. So you might not, but a battery there, maybe, chemicals in a jar with some, metal, magic metal rods in it, where here it's kind of the same thing. It's just a chemical reaction.
Right.
So the physics of the world are, because that was one of the first things I thought of when I thought of this is like, I ingested as much many worlds theory and read A Brief History of Time and all this stuff because I wanted to use hard science as a basis for the comic, and then build, my pseudoscience off of that. So at least there was some sort of like, valid. Like somebody could go, "Oh, that's neat. I wonder if that's real." And they look it up and go, "Well, that's not real, but it works like this in our world," because it is kind of a real thing.
Maybe that explains why you're attracted to my character Mist.
When you explained Mist to me, I was like, yes, this is great. I love this character because the magic is science angle.
Yes, that's right.
It's amazing. And people, it's one of those things that people are afraid to touch because they don't know how to do it right. And I feel like you've got it. Like you have got, and you like we're in a paragraph, we're able to say, okay, it's like this. And I'm like, I like this man. He has thought this out.
Right. Yes. Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. But yeah, listening to you speak, it makes sense now why you were attracted to her. Yeah, man. I like that kind of concept. Because the thing about magic and physics and this whole thing I've got called mystics and all that kind of thing, or mystics. There's a lot you could do with that, I think. Yeah, for sure. And
there are like if you go back to like the golden age, it's all pseudoscience. It's like it's all everything is pseudoscience. Somebody may have been like passively reading an article in a magazine and they heard the word nuclear and they said, "Oh, that must mean I could do this with it." It's like, no, but good try. It worked. And it worked. It was good for the era. People didn't have as much like raw scientific knowledge as we do now, just on the average. But if you watch how comics progressed over time, people started like incorporating those things that they loved from Heinlein and Asimov and those kind of writers, where people saw Star Trek, and Star Trek is full of pseudoscience, but it's based on theories, and that's where you can kind of get away with that. Is you can take a interesting theory like 0-point energy is a real theory where you can pull energy from the universe, essentially. Well, there's been multiple science fiction things that have come out that have used 0-point energy, including in the most famously Stargate. Stargate used it. That's how they power their ships, and that's how they power their Stargates and all that.
Yes.
And but the thing was that I wanted to have that basis, so people could kind of look at something and say, "Oh, that sounds familiar. Let me look that up," and people could learn from it. I wanted that to be a thing. I wanted people to be able to say, "Hey," and it guided my thoughts on this comic my entire life. Like and I think today more than any time, at least in the last 4 years here, but still, I guess I'm quantifying it too much. There's a general pull, I think, over the world. There's this general sort of just, I don't want to say darkness, because that's so specific and has weird connotations. But there's this whole feeling of like everyone's arguing and everything's bad and the world's falling apart, or the world's not falling apart and you're just dumb, or this part of the world's falling apart this way and you don't know what you're talking about. And there's so much strife and pain and misery and anger and frustration, and life can be this beautiful thing. It really can, if you just start with yourself. Don't worry about other people. Start with you. Who are you? What do you want? And then say, okay, there's this person standing next to me. Who are they? What do they want? They are as important as I am, because we are both alive now on the earth and we can work together. And I know that's such a cliche concept, but it's true. It's just true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you feel religiously, politically, anything. And I've seen that in comics more than anywhere else in the world, where people can get together and take ideas and create something from it. And that thing can then go out into the world and affect other people. Stephen King, when I was trying, there was a period about 5-6 years ago where I was really trying to learn how to write, and I realized I'm not a writer. I need writers. That's an open call. By the way, I need writers. But because I can plot and think everything out. I really don't. Jim Tennell is a really good friend of mine. We've been friends for like 25 years, 20 years. And I think it's 20 years. It's been a long time. Long enough that I forgot how long we've been friends. And he's actually writing the core book, like what's going to be coming out through the Thunder Zone next year. And if you're not buying Thunder Zone books, you're missing out. I know this isn't a Thunder Zone gig, but it is future tense. So not you. I know you know. I was like, wait. I know you know. Speaking of Thunder Zone, Mr. Hinds, if you want to tell people about Supercross real quick while we're on that subject, I'll be more than happy to do
that. Supercross is my own title that's gone out through Thunder Zone, and it's set in Singapore. You don't hear about a lot of superheroing happening in this neck of the woods. And the story actually deals with, the crux of the story is, there's a superstar magician. Imagine the writer calls her David Blaine with boobs. Right now, she's actually got superpowers, you could say, but people think she's an illusionist, and she's been sponsored to come out to Asia on the Southeast Asian wing of her world tour. And she's actually at the center of a massive crime thing that's going to happen. She has no idea, of course, and that's how the local superheroes here and a couple more superheroes from America get involved in the story. It's a massive crossover, hence Supercross. I hope that sounds of interest.
It does.
But number 1 and 2 are available at, what's the name of the comic store that Dan goes out to?
Indie Planet.
Yes, Indie Planet. Number 1 and 2 is available there at the moment. It's a 6-part miniseries. I'm just currently almost finished drawing number 5.
Oh, wow.
And number 6 will be done by the end of this year. But I'm not sure of the schedule. I'm not sure of the publishing schedule through Amazon.
I think I'll tell you that off the air. I don't want to say that on the air. Okay, so I'll tell you what I was going to say because it's not bad. It's I was thinking of a Kickstarter that we could do as the Thunder Zone with Dan. With Dan, of course, it'd be with Dan. It's his baby, but call it round 2, like Thunder Zone round 2, and do all the second issues of like the books, and to really because I think one of the things that kind of may have been an issue is that people assume that indie comics aren't reliable, and so they'll invest in a book even if they know the person.
Yeah,
and even with some trepidation, I say this from experience.
Yes.
People trepidatiously are supporting me, and I understand that, which is why I think we're a little under our goal. But in Dan's case, which is the example I tried to follow with this, everything's done. Everything's done before he even thinks about putting a Kickstarter together. So you have a finished book ready to print, ready to go to you, literally like within days of that Kickstarter clearing. As soon as he can pay the printer to print it, he gets it printed and he starts sending them out. And they're always in good shape. They're always well packed. You're never worrying about whether or not you're going to get damaged material. I one time, and I've backed almost every Kickstarter that since I've known Dan. I've backed almost every Kickstarter he's had, and if I didn't, it was because I just didn't have money. Because all good stuff. And the box was damaged. It was in a Gemini mailer, and the box had been punctured. But the way he had packed it, it didn't touch the comic. Like, so even if it's damaged, like you're probably still going to get good material. I can't speak for the Postal Service, but I can speak for Dan. He's going to package your stuff in not only a secure way, but a way that if something happens, you're going to get it in good shape.
Right. I'm doing something here at the moment, Damion, that I'm always lecturing our students about shapes. And I've drawn these like buckle-like things at the wrong trajectory on this boot. That's what you call a really bad piece of draftsmanship. Right.
So are you your biggest critic?
Sorry?
Are you your biggest critic?
Yes, definitely. My idol is Gil Kane, okay? And I'm way past my sell-by date. Yeah, I went into advertising and design. I would never reach that guy's standard. But when you see the drawings that he did, how many years ago, you see things like that. And to leave something that's drastically wrong just ain't right.
See, you totally undersell yourself. See, Chris told me not. Don't do that. Chris told me not to do that. Don't undersell yourself. See, that's when I saw there was a scholarship in his honor. I was like, I have to give money to this. Here's the secret. I've been out of work since October of last year. I had a job at a printing company for about 3 weeks in March. and they let me go because they were not making enough money because of COVID. And printing was not, physical printing right now is not a necessity for some diehard, industries that use that as their main source of marketing. And then my unemployment dried up. Like within a week of me losing my job, my unemployment went away. And I'm not one to ride unemployment, but a lot of stuff happened where I had some health issues and I had some physical issues that were gonna make unemployment a necessity. And the long and short is, I had nothing to give a man that I had nothing to give to a man to a person, not even just a man, a person that inspired me and took this 19-year-old kid by the hand and said, "You can do this." I'll tell you a story that I don't tell people that don't know me. And I'm not just yanking people's chains for money. Like, this is legit. This is true. When I was about 18, let's just say speaking of sell-by dates, my sell-by date living at home was well past. My family had some problems. We'll leave it at that. And my dad wasn't a drinker, but he was an angry person. He was in Vietnam and he had a lot of PTSD.
Oh, he's in Vietnam.
My dad, yeah, he did 2 tours in Vietnam. He's a tunnel rat. He did all kinds of stuff. He had a lot of. I knew that, but I didn't know the extent of it till much, much later. And so I'm 18 years old, and he's like, "What are you going to do with your life? Like, what are you doing? You're just sitting here working." I was working a job at Pizza Hut. However, I was the head cook. There's no chefs at Pizza Hut. It was head cook at Pizza Hut. I was working, 40 plus hours a week. I was paying rent, and we got into an argument about me wanting to be an artist. And essentially, he gets really angry at me and is like, "You need to back up, because that's a pipe dream. You can't do that for a living." And I was like, "You don't know that. You know nothing about what I'm talking about." And I had like a bunch of, this is kind of how much I believed in myself, and yet how dumb I was, because I was like 18. I grabbed a bunch of Wizard magazines. I was like, "Look, people are doing this. This guy's 17. This guy's like 23. People are doing this for a living. They can do that. I just need help. I need to be able to do it." Which is part of why I was still living at home, because I knew if I moved out, I'd have to spend all my money on living and wouldn't be able to focus on art at all. And this sounds so lame, because so many people have worse stories than this about abuse. There was a Coke bottle, a plastic 2-liter Coke bottle by the bed, and he grabbed it and flung it at me, and it was about half full, and it hits me. And it hits me right, like he's throwing it down. So I don't know if it was intentional. He broke 2 of my toes.
Jeez.
Like, just out of anger. And I crumple to the ground. I'm on one knee, like holding my foot. And he's just like, "You need to go into construction, or you need to do something, because you're a big guy and you're gonna need to use that because you don't have any skills." And he's just berating me and berating me and berating me. And my mom, being who my mom is, and lovely person, didn't do anything. That was just the situation they were in. She wasn't mousy by any stretch. I saw plenty of her jumping up and punching him in the face because he did something like rude to her. But again, I saw that, and I was like 12. You know what I'm talking about? So I grew up in an environment that trained me not to believe in myself, to not believe in what I could do. And it was one of the reasons I fell into comics, was because it was something that brought me out of that and let me see that there could be if even for a moment, something better than this, something more than this, I could be more than this. And so that idea of wanting to make comics came from that. But I took all that baggage with me. And it wasn't until I met Chris that I realized that that didn't have to be my story. I could do this. I could do this. I have to try. I have to put effort into it. And any time that I have, barring like personal injury, like recently, or my house almost burning down, or my mom's house burning down, people dying, I have worn that on my back, and it has crept into my ear many a time, and all I could think of was like, at least somebody at some point saw my work and said I could do this. And it's what's kept me from quitting altogether, even in the hardest of times. So when he died, I think some people see me doing this and they're like, oh, that's that guy that didn't fulfill that Kickstarter, or it took him 2 years to do something, or, blah, 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 blah. And I think there's some of that. I hope there's not. And I'm being completely honest. Yes, that's true. But it's gonna get completed by the end of the year. I'll tell you that much. It's actually going to be the last thing I do as solely as Day One Comics, and then we'll be working through the Thunder Zone next year, with a plan.
Right.
But
where did the name Day One come from?
The first day of the rest of your life. It's the first day of the rest of your life.
Yes.
Leaving the past behind you. Leaving, pardon my French, leaving the bullshit in the past. Leaving everything that is negative and horrible in your life, or leaving all the bad things behind you so you can go forward into the new day. Why I didn't go with New Day Comics, I have no idea. I think there might be a New Day Comics. I think that might have been why. There actually was a Day One Studios. And I was like, ooh, no. And so I actually did. That's why I have the number 1.
Right.
I didn't mean to get deep. When you offer to give money to something like this, I think people second guess you. They're like, are you really? And there's a reason. It's not an excuse. A reason for people to second guess me. But this is done. Everything about this is done. The action figures modeled, which we're giving away an action figure. I know we haven't gotten into what we're doing for the campaign. But that's the thing, is like, as soon as he passed away, I'm like, I have to do something. And I'm not going to be able to go tomorrow. Actually, is his birthday. And tomorrow, so when you said that we should do this, I was like, yes, let's do it Saturday. So tomorrow's his birthday.
Right.
And they're having a big thing in Youngstown for him. And I can't go. Like, I just can't go. And it kills me to not go, because
Did he live far from you, or did he live far from you?
It's about 5-6 hours.
Oh,
Weirdly enough, it's like the way, because of like all the geological elements in the way, it's like a 5-6 hour trip. And I would totally do it. If I had to do it alone, I'd do it, because, just to honor him. But I don't have the money to pay for the gas. So this is what I can do. I can take everything that he's helped inspire in me over the last 25 years, and I can put it together in a book, and I can give this book to people in exchange for donating some money to his scholarship fund. And so I called them. I emailed the people that are running it, which are just like friends of his and his manager. And I say that trust me, it's better handled than that. I'm doing it no service. But before I even thought of saying a word publicly, like, I started this campaign with that goal. We were going to do an all digital campaign, no physical stuff, and all the sales were going to go to his Scholarship Fund. And ironically enough, called the Chris Yambar Scholarship Fund at YSU. And so that was the plan from the beginning. I was going to do it kind of quietly, but I contacted them and I said, can I say anything about this? Because I don't want them to feel like I'm, doing anything sordid. And I don't want the world to think that either. So I contacted his manager, and his manager said, please feel free, go ahead. That's great. I really appreciate that. And so I announced it. And literally how I'm going to do it is to be able to give people physical rewards. And, there's shipping. People are paying for shipping. So the shipping's covered. And I'm going to make physical rewards with some of that money because I don't have money. I have $100 I've held on to that I'm going to put into it of my own. So that's done. Right. I'm not even putting it on the campaign because that I'm giving them that regardless. Like that's happening no matter what. Because that's the most I could accumulate to be able to give. So anyway, breaks down. Smallest level we have is like $5. For $5, you get a digital copy of the omnibus, and that is 125 pages of art and story. I've gone so far as to create a cool framing device so that like it's one whole story, even though it's comics from 25 years and 25 years worth of learning as an artist. Yes. So if you want something to show your students about artistic progression, feel free. See how he didn't know how to do perspective in this one? See how he kind of learned it here?
Yeah. And so has any of this stuff been published before, Damion?
One time. Everything has been everything but the I can't I'm saying this backwards. Let me try it again. One thing's been published before in the book. The only thing that's been published was the first issue or 0 issue of Realmer X. That was part of the Kickstarter that we did. Everybody's still going to get that copy. It's the digital one that I think probably everybody's seen, but I've made a couple of print runs. I've probably printed about 150 of them all told, right, and sold out at con. So I literally have none of them. So that's in there as the final story. Beyond that, the other 3 stories are from books that we haven't published. Well, I haven't published professionally. They were either ash cans that I made that I gave out at cons, or they were just things I made. I think one of the one book I have on Comicsology, which was a 16-page kind of preview. But I really haven't advertised it. It took me 8 months to get onto Comicsology to begin with. And by the time it was on there, I was like, I'm on to the next thing. Like okay. And I'm bad at self-promoting. I'll totally admit. But the majority of the material, like the first half to 3/4 of the book, is stuff that hasn't seen print since it was an ash can that I made when I was like 12.
Oh, right. Oh, that's cool.
I have a friend of mine who, love him dearly. His name's Eric Niederstadt. He has collected everything I've made to the point that now I don't even I'm like, here, just take this, put this with the collection. Like he's my archivist almost. And I was looking to do I wanted to get everything together. So I knew what I'd done, where I'd come from and where I was going. And he was able to get it for me. And so I scanned everything. The only thing that's not in there is one comic that was probably about 8 pages long. And if we can hit goal, I'll put it in there. It looks horrible. I mean, it's a horrible scan. Everything's horrible. So the comic itself, I think, is great. And when I really look at them, I'm like, the story's really stand up. And some of these panels are pretty cool. But I see how that was horrible. And I should have drawn that with either more or less, whatever. But it's great to see it all together, to have it go to this point where here's this finished 32-page comic, or at the end, that you can see where all the pieces and ideas and everything worked its way into this one finished book. And that is, fully developed, I should say. But so yeah, there's that, and then there's like it's 155 pages, the whole thing, and there's like 30 pages of everything over the last 8 years that I've collected art-wise, as far as Realmer X. So sketches from other people, art from other people. Some of your stuff's in there. The everything Realmer X that I've had done or had people do, that's the same thing. I need to get some coffee here in just a second. I'm gonna let you take over first for a minute. Anyway, any art that wasn't for a comic. The Planet X, part 1 of the Planet X story is in there, is in this one. That did see print, but it only still had a very limited, like, I made 25 issues and I gave them out at a con, and that's it. So there's stuff people have seen, there's stuff people haven't seen, and stuff ranging 25 years back.
Right.
So the book itself is really neat, and you can watch the characters' progression. Like even and I'm doing different covers. And so 4 of them are sort of Realmer X as we see them now, like you're drawing now. And then the remaining one is the Chris Yambar cover. And back in 98, when I met him, he drew me this sketch of the character at the time. And so that is the cover of that particular book. But you get the digital book for $5. You get a soundtrack. I made a soundtrack. I make music on the side. It's kind of like comics were my hobby, then became my thing. Music became a hobby, now it's sort of a thing. But I make, it's all electronic music. It's a 15-track EP I made. I call it the Realmer X soundtrack because it's all based on like scenes from the book, or all based off the character. So for $10 you get that and the digital comic. And it's a lot of music. It's a CD's worth of music. For those of us who remember CDs. That's bad that you can say that. And like you I heard you you're like, yeah. I kind of heard that when you laughed. I was like, yeah. But so that's for 10. For 15 you get the book. For 15 you get all that plus the book, the physical copy of the book. I'm eating $2 of the cost on every book because the book itself is actually going to be about 15 to 16. No, wait, $17 to print because I'm only printing 25, and that's all there's going to be. Like I'm literally only printing 25, and so that's fine. I don't care about that. The next level up is all the digital stuff and an action figure, where I've gotten into making action figures with O Toys, and it's one that I specifically made for this. I want to do something for like Realmer's 25th anniversary, so I made this figure, and then I realized I don't want to do something for Realmer's 25th anniversary specifically. I want it to be this. I wouldn't be doing this 25 years later if it wasn't for this man. So the action figure is a secret. I'm not going to let anybody know. I'm not even going to show it. But believe me, it's cool. And excuse me.
Okay, Damion, I've just about done the main inks.
Nice.
I remember you said, you got to watch your health, right? I remember you said 1 hour. How long have we been here?
It's about an hour and 13. Well, you've been with us for half an hour. It's been about an hour 15. I'm good. I'm good to go. I just need something to drink. So
okay. I know you guys follow American football out there. In this part of the world at the moment, it's the European Cup of soccer, what we call football.
Oh, do you need to go?
What's the time? Well, I can stay another 15 minutes. I'm just going to put a bit of detail in on the hair.
Listen, I'll put that out there like this. Here we go. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, there is our Indiegogo link. You can go there and find everything there. I can ramble on and go through it. I'd rather watch you draw. So there's that. who we're giving it to. Chris Yambar Scholarship Fund for helping Youngstown University students. Literally minus the cost of producing the physical copies of everything that needs to go out to the backers. Every penny is going plus $100. So if we can hit the $500 goal, we'll be able to give them about $250 to the campaign or to the scholarship. And
is anyone watching us?
Well, see, that's why I used YouTube, because I can link to the video in case people are not watching us. It's 10 a.m. or it's 11 a.m. on a Saturday. I don't know many people that are up. But I'd rather do it at 10 or 11 a.m. so like we could do this together. Because believe me, speaking of the Thunder Zone, once we get the weekly show going for the Thunder Zone, it's going to be fun.
Oh, there's going to be a weekly show, yeah? You're going to do it?
I want to do it desperately. It's every time I get ready to do something else comes up. Like, my toe happened, and then
yeah.
It's like, look, stop dying, stop being old. Fix your stuff.
There's not enough hours in a day, I find.
Well, I also want to come up with a formula that's a little more. This is real fly by the seat of your pants kind of stuff, and I feel like I've been talking the entire time and not been giving you more airtime, so I feel bad. At the same time, I think if I have a formula, then I'll be able to do that more.
Yes. I want to change my style on this.
Would you be at all interested in, if we can get a Thunder Zone show going, doing a, and maybe not every week, but like maybe once a month, doing a sketch of a character?
Yeah, definitely. I'm up for anything like that. What software do you use, Damion, to draw with? You use
Clip Studio. Clip Studio.
Yeah, you said, right? Yeah, that's what. So I remember you saying that. I tell you what, I feel a bit guilty because I've been using Photoshop since the early 90s. And I think of myself as a loyal Photoshop person. But man, I can't stop using Clip Paint.
When it was Manga Studio.
Yes, I mean, that's what it was originally. And it was called Comic Studio in Japan.
Well, it wasn't as robust as it is now. The paneling was great, and the materials were there. But they bought this Dutch or Danish company. Maybe Dutch is Danish. I'm so American. I'm first generation too, so I should know better. Anyway, they bought another company, a software company that had the drawing stuff. They literally just bought this company for this. So if you buy Clip Studio, Paint Pro, or anything that's Clip Studio on it, that specifically is what's sold through that Danish company. And if you buy Manga Studio, which is the same program, just branded with Manga Studio on it, you're paying a lot more. So that's why most people even have Clip Studio. I mean, $80 you can get, a lifetime version of Pro EX. I do all my panel work and everything in one file. I do everything in one file because I can pull up. I can make a comic. And you do it left reading, right reading. Like I can go in there and change some things, and I can turn my comic into like a manga friendly comic. Yeah. So I can change the whole order of the pages. I know all kinds of stuff in EX, which is great. I can do animation in EX. I've played a little bit with it.
Have you gotten to grips with any of the animation? Can you do any of that?
Barely. Because not unlike trying to do animation with Photoshop or After Effects, you're still doing it like cell by cell by cell, or You can copy and paste cells. They make it a little easier, but it's like this weird combination of keyframes and individual drawings. The onion skinning's better than Flash ever was. So you can definitely see everything. You can put a base drawing underneath it, all of it, and literally just animate one part. And you could see, the like 46, 80 frames it takes, depending on how fluid you want it to be, of the movement of that character. So it's pretty robust, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I gotta have time to sit down and really work with you because you're hurting my brain right now.
That's the reason why I can't get into it. I just don't have enough time to become expertise. Become expert at doing that as well.
I say I don't have time. You teach. You have like a life and a family, and I got a family here, but it's like there's like 6 of us.
6.
Me and my wife, my son, his fiance, their son, and my mom.
Your son. Your oldest son lives with you, yeah?
No. He no. He's a really good guy. He's a really good kid. He's a great dad. It's one of those things where parents just shouldn't live with their kids after a certain point because you're too much alike, and that's why you annoy each other. And please never, ever, anybody, if you're watching this now or in the future, don't tell him I said we're alike. He'll But he likes me. He wants to be like me as far as like a dad goes, but like he wants to be his own man. I'm like, you are your own man.
Okay, no, I'm imagining that what Realmer X is doing here, he's hopping between dimensions, and there's loads of crazy lights going on around him,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just start the spotting. I won't have enough time to finish it now, but I'm going to start spotting the blacks in a way that will allow us to have some ridiculous lighting later on. Okay, so I'm going to start on this arm here.
Since you're gonna have to leave in a bit, so you said you're gonna finish this later. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a bit. I'm gonna do a little bit of spotting now, but I will complete it
Do you
tomorrow.
ever use the screen capture function in Clip Studio?
Hey, you want me to send you a copy of it first?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna ask you if you wouldn't mind if you can use the where is it? Oh wait, maybe you don't have it.
Okay, I just saved a JPEG now.
Can I ask you a favor? Would you mind hitting your file screen again? I want to see something super quick. Sorry. There's a time lapse, not screen. Do you have time lapse under file?
I didn't record this.
No, I know. But I mean, if you, I was going to ask if you could record the spotting.
Oh, record the spotting?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you do that? I've never used that function.
Go up to file. I keep pointing this, click on your screen. Go up to file.
File?
And see time lapse.
Oh my God, that was a bit simple, wasn't it?
No, I did the same thing. I was like, where's it? Oh, okay.
And how long, how much memory does it take?
Not a lot. It's literally creating a GIF and then it saves the GIF as a video. So it's just every time you do a line, it goes, and then every time you do another line, it goes and just puts them all together. Then creates a real easy little small video. And you can actually like change the size of the video and stuff. And it's not super robust or detailed. You can just like, do I want it to be a square? Do I want it to be a rectangle? That kind of thing. But
oh man, I should have done that before we started today. I didn't think of it.
I didn't either. I'm so dumb. Sorry.
Okay.
I should have thought of that.
Okay, what if I do this, but I don't ink it all at one time?
As long as you open the same file and are working on the same file, it'll save to the time lapse. Once you turn on time lapse,
right,
it locks that in place, and then every stroke you make or everything you do after that point gets recorded to the time lapse, I've closed them and reopened them and everything, and it just adds to that time lapse.
You made the time lapse will start again automatically?
Mm-hmm. It picks right up where you left off.
Okay, will I have to come back here and tell it to record though?
No.
Or it remembers that file was recording?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. You know, they talk about alien technology, right? I look at Photoshop. I look at things like this. And I don't believe that people did this, humans.
Not alone. Collectively, I think we're pretty good. I think alone, we're kind of dumb. And completely excluded. I'm speaking of myself. I think individual people can be, dumb and angry and messy and whatever. But there we go. See, that's cool. And if you don't want to see it again, you can click "Do not see it." Show me again. I always do that on my stuff. That's whenever I see it, I'm like, go to click. Oh wait, that's not mine. I think, and it's one of the things that like drives the concept of this book is I really do believe that collectively, the only way we're going to survive as a species is if we collectively work together. If we have to collectively agree that like we're all allowed to have our own points of view. We're all allowed to have our own feelings. We're all allowed to have all that own stuff, but we have to be a little beholden to each other to survive. Yeah. That's how we've survived to this point.
Yes.
There's a book called Sapiens. I mean, that's kind of how we survived to this point. The divisions are what's gonna, be our downfall.
Yeah.
I'm all big brain this morning. I apologize. Not trying to be. I went pretty deep on all this. I feel a little exposed at this moment.
Why is that?
Just because, like that story I told, like I've never about that publicly. It's just, I think so many people have stories like that where they were hurt as a child or told they couldn't be something or couldn't do something. And you can find people that are weirdly driven. And it's either I am completely self-aware and involved, or somebody hurt me real bad in my past, and I'm gonna prove them wrong. It's there's variations on that theme, but that's seems to be a kind of a constant.
Yes, the motivation that different people have, where it comes from. I mean, if you're very, very dedicated at something, you do have to be somewhat selfish. I know that I was never ever, well, you know how long it takes to draw a comic, yeah? The amount of work it takes.
Oh, yeah.
I never ever had enough discipline to have really gone into it wholeheartedly. I was in advertising and design. I was too busy chasing money, mainly because I had children quite young. But that tunnel vision that you need, I never had that. I was too kind of pragmatic, you could say. But as I get older now, I find a way of doing it, but not directly drawing a comic. I managed to get commercial commissions for companies and people, and doing projects with people like yourself, which is a bit of compromise.
I can see that. I think when I really put it down to brass tacks, part of the reason that I haven't pursued working for like Marvel and DC or working for mainstream companies is I wanted to tell my story from the beginning. I wanted to tell this story from the beginning. And however long it took. And the reason there's only 125 pages after 25 years It is a lot of the same reason. You know, I had my son when I was 25, and I got divorced when I was 29, and you know,
Yeah.
parent for a long time, and you can't do comics as a single parent unless you have help. You gotta have somebody to like be with your child while you're drawing, because otherwise you need to be with your child. Period. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was determined to be a better father. Period. And even if that meant I didn't draw or didn't work on my book, you know, I was gonna be who my son wanted me or needed me to be.
I went to give it a bit of a shot in 1998. I went to the San Diego Con,
Mhm.
and I showed my portfolio to Ralph Macchio, the editor, not the
Not the actor.
not the Karate Kid.
I'm sure they were both there. They probably were both there, though. You have to admit.
Yeah. So I showed it to Ralph Macchio and I showed it to Ruben Diaz. And they both liked it. They both took my samples. And they said to me straight up, they said, look, we're going to give these to the art editor. If you don't hear back from him within 2 months, it means that you were unsuccessful. But they both said that they liked it. So I wondered to myself, were they just being kind? But then I spoke to a few guys in one of the portfolio queues a couple of days later. And they said, no. They said that Ruben Diaz was not a nice man. He laid into a few people. So that was reassuring. That means that he actually took my stuff because he thought it was worth it. He wasn't just being kind. I remember one guy saying that his words were, he was quite brutal actually. That was his words.
Like, I can see it. I can see why you'd have to be in a lot of ways. Because, you know, you have some people that are just so intent on being something.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Kitchen Nightmares?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay. Weird analogy. It's the one, there's one restaurant that Gordon Ramsay didn't help. It's called Amy's Baking Company.
Right.
Completely delusional, completely crazy people, like crazy. Not, and I don't mean to be disparaging about anyone with mental issues. Like, this was willful. and like, there's certain angles you have to reach to blow smoke up your own butt. And they got him down the first time. And it's horrible. It's horrible to watch. It's a train wreck. And they did one thing good and everything else they did horribly. And because they did one thing good and everyone said it was good, they felt they had the right to like just be treated like they were the best people ever and should be, you know, the best food. And anybody doesn't like their food must eat sawdust and wood chips and doesn't know anything about food and blah, blah, blah. So they like chew out their customers. And I've never seen Gordon Ramsay calmly deal with people, you know, because I mean, I don't know him, so I only see what they show me. And he's always angry. So he was like, no, really, you need to talk to somebody. He's very calm. He's like, no, you need to go and see a psychiatrist. Believe me, you need help. And anyway, the point being that when you deal with people like that, and I'm sure they do. I know tons of people. I've known tons of people of the last 25 years that were so enamored with their own concepts and so into their own thought process when it came to their comic that they were just shocked when nobody liked it or nobody thought it was good. And I don't mean like I'm a full supporter and do your own thing and, you know, find a way to make it work. And if, you know, it doesn't work in this way, well, you know, do it a different way. But, you know, be true to yourself and be true to your story, be true to your concept. And like, I've had friends of mine that were so enamored with their own ability to create one thing. They were shocked when I'd say, okay, so now make me want to buy it. What do you mean? Talk to me. Make me want to buy it. Like, what is the hook? What is the, oh, well, it's this. I'm like, I know that. But what if I don't know that? What if I don't know you? What if I don't know how good this is from the beginning? And they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, we're done. Like, I love you. And that's something that, I mean, those people that don't like me, and there's people that maybe don't like Realmer X as a concept, and that's fine. But, you know, I think it's good. And I think I've had enough people tell me, I've had enough other people tell me that the conceptually and design wise, it's a solid concept that I'm like, I'll believe other people. I'm not believing myself. I believe in myself, but I don't know if I believe myself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Have I been rambling for 2 hours or an hour and a half? I think I have been.
No, I tell you what, after phenomenals like Joe Rogan, right? But this is life, isn't it? If we were down the pub and we were talking, it'd be no different, right? Only difference is that we would have got through some alcohol. I think that is basically what this long form YouTube stuff has really brought to the fore. The way how you can just sit and talk about something for a long time and it's not boring. It's actually what makes something interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, when Joe Rogan first came out, people said, this is ridiculous. No one's going to sit there and listen to someone talking for 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's just different. It's just a different way of doing things. But I think when you've got a comic, when you've got a subject like comics as a focal point, it can never really be mindless or boring. There's a reason. You know, the amount of comic stories that fanboys have. But you know, you could sit down there all night going on about it, can't you? I mean, hours can pass by. You know, one guy tells his story, another guy tells his story.
There's whole shows about people that just do their pitch. They get like half an hour to do a pitch, and then on to the next one. And they're full, chock full. Like, I'm talking, please, whoever show this is, please don't be upset at me that I forgot the name of your show. Because I may want to be on it one day. It's 30 minutes to hype their stuff and they're out. And that's all you get. You sign up for it and you do it. And it's like an 8-hour show. And it's just round table. Boom, 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 boom. And that's 8 hours. And there are times like in an hour and a half, I'm feeling like, do I need to shut up? Do I need
What show is that?
I forgot the name. I'm a horrible person. This is why I need this literally this moment is why I need a plan before we do a show. Because I need to, last night I'm in bed, 4:00 in the morning, still can't sleep. I'm like, you haven't set any of that stuff up for tomorrow. I'm like, whoa, okay, let me get up, let me do it. Hour and a half later, it's done. I'm like, I could sleep now. I was like, that's what was keeping me up. You didn't finish what you were doing.
Right. Yeah.
And see, I say that in the middle of a live stream for a campaign. I'm trying to get people to buy a book for it. That's not the case here. I wouldn't be offering you this. Trust me. I would not be offering this to anybody if it wasn't that. I had too much bad experience. Excuse me, I had too many bad experiences with those situations. So believe me, it's in the finished, I'm saying that to you as a backer, and I'm saying that to the people out there as well. But it's been about almost 20 minutes. You're like 2 minutes short of 20.
That's what I said. I was going to finish at 11:15. Hold on, I just spot this bit, and then
Let me pull it back up.
I'll let you go. Hold on, I just spot this bit first.
Come on, what are you doing?
There we go. In here.
So I've had this idea for a show for a while, and I want someone to help me do this. It's not quite a draw off. It's just you get two artists that do an indie comics who have a character or something like this, they're trying to hype something. So they come on the show, and you have a host, and they each draw their character live on the show. And talk about the character while they're drawing it.
And then at the end, we auction off the artwork. Like we'll make posters. We'll auction off the artwork to one of the viewers. So you have to come watch to get a free sort of thing. I think it'd be a good idea. I don't know quite yet how to. I'm again, this is one of those things where I'm working out a plan for it.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be fun.
That was really the point, is for it to be fun. You learn about somebody's stuff that maybe you didn't know before, and you have you have a good time.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're gonna stop.
Sometimes when I start spotting, I get a bit carried away. I would have to have a look back at this and judge it.
Now, here's the thing. If he's between realities, you can get carried away because light, it's weird. I have no specific way I do it. It's all relative to what I'm trying to convey in the moment. If he's in a good mood and it's an upbeat thing and he's jumping, it might be brighter. If it's like the surroundings sort of reflect the inner turmoil of the character.
Yes.
So I use that as just a bit of a way for my mind to go, okay, here's what I'm going to put into this panel or put into this thing.
But you see, this is a red top, right? It's not really that dark, but I've gone in with quite a lot of rendering. So it's a big decision that I'm making here, which I may dilute later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe I got too excited with my Tom Palmering.
What if you change the opacity? Would that be too? Ooh, never mind. I like it.
Yes, I do like the way this sort of stuff look. Yes, it does just a different discipline, but absolutely, that could also work.
I like to when I do coloring, which is almost all the time, but I really would prefer colors. I'll do the flats, and then I'll actually shade with color, because I like to shade with color because I think it's more natural. The shade when you look at something, you're seeing shades of a color. You're not seeing like a black line. I understand the discipline of needing to know how to do that, though. So I apply that to the coloring.
Right.
I don't know why I'm telling you anything. Like you're the master. Sit here and watch. I'm just offering ideas because I've literally spent 25 years of my life trying to figure out how to make it, and I'm like, this is cool things I thought of.
Have you drawn comics for other people, like an independent writer somewhere? He's got a story. He needs an artist. You just pitch up. No input to the story. You're just the penciler. You're not inking. You're not coloring. You just pencil the pages. You ever done anything like that before?
Would I? Yes. Have I? No. I'd totally be up for that. That's part of why I want writers for Realmer X, is because I want to be able to say, you tell me what to do and I'll just do it. It's kind of a little freedom. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've done a book called Sovereign that's written by my friend Jim Tennell, James. And it was about just an 8-page short we were doing for a convention. It was kind of a rush job. So I like the art, but we were using real locations, so it got real difficult at times. So I had to recreate physical beings, recreate physical structures at the location, because it was at the con, but it's supposed to be outside the con. Like they were leaving. Oh, and now I'm a superhero. I got to run off. Real quick intro to the concept. But there was a lot of input on that. So
you've done short stories for other writers.
I have, but yes. There was I had a lot of input on it. So I wouldn't say it was someone gave me a script and I drew it, if that's what you're asking. I have worked on other characters and other stuff. Yeah.
Right. It was one of the best things that I did when I took commissions for other writers and had no input on the story, because we've all got our own ideas, right? We're full of ideas in that, but there's something about sitting back and not having to worry about a concept that I really enjoyed. you know. And then they ask you to draw things that, if it was my own concept, I would never have to draw that, you know. And I found that I learned more for drawing for someone else than the hundreds of pages that I did for myself. And I just wish I had more time to do more of it, you know.
I don't offer this a lot, but if you have anything you want me to draw, let me know.
I'm sorry?
If you have anything you want me to draw, let me know.
Yes. I tell you what, something that's not often spoken about is the expense of comics. You know, the amount of money that it costs to produce a comic.
Yeah.
You know, you ask someone to even draw you like 12 pages. You can't do that speculatively. It just takes too long. So if you don't have the money to pay them, how can you ask them? It's like a hell of an imposition to put on someone, you see.
That's why I was a little wary about asking you if you could draw that. To be honest, because I was like, if you needed me to pay you for it, I was ready to go. Like I had money, I was ready to pay. But I'm not saying you're suggesting that. Just you're right. It just nobody thinks about those things.
Yeah, I mean, fan art is no problem. You know, one drawing like this, it's great, out and out fun. It's a splash page, excellent. But when you get the storytelling, that's a whole different kettle of fish. You got to really think about that. And you can't just do it for like a few hours and it's done. The whole day you will spend on that one page.
Yep.
It's very, very different. And that's why it's really sad that, a lot of people asked me for work in that, but I can't afford to pay them. So even when they said they would do it for free, unless they're very, very pushy, I still won't give them the job, because in the end, they will burn out. They will end up not making the deadline, because life, it's impossible for anyone to draw 7 pages of comic in 1 week and still hold down a full-time job. If they do that, they can't have a partner. They can't be married. They can't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, depending.
They better be real understanding.
Yeah, or their partner better be very understanding. If they're young enough and they can do it, then they're a freak. Any artist that's good enough to really draw you a comic page isn't going to be 21 years old. Yep. Highly unlikely. That's why I still give great respect to Rob Liefeld. When he drew his first Marvel comic, he was a teenager, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't care how many inaccuracies he had. I reckon there's less than a couple thousand humans on the planet who can draw a coherent comic before they're 19 years old. There's not many people walking around that can do that.
I agree.
So, so that I've always respected him for that. The fact that he could do that.
I think it's hard for people to separate the art from the artist. Because I think at a certain point, at a certain level of fame, you have to. You have to separate the person, because they're past this point where their life's not daily affected by their fame. So that changes people. And I don't know Rob Liefeld. I have no opinion of him as a person, pro or con. But as an artist, he, like you said, he held his own. He held his chops. And I'm not to say at one point I didn't have an opinion. I think everybody had an opinion of him at some point. I just grew out of it because I realized you're an adult and you don't know the man, so let's move on. That's kind of when I see people get so angry at him. I'm like, well, then don't read his books. Like, if you don't want to support him, don't support him. That's the biggest thing about comics. Like you're talking about, there's the production side of things, but the pay side, or the demand side, the I can't talk. The other side, the comic store, the buying, the supporting the Kickstarter, all that. Don't do it. If you don't want to, if you don't want to support them as a person and you don't like what they do, don't do it. I don't get offended that people won't back this campaign. I'd like them to, whether they like me or not. I'd love for them to, because the money's not going in my pocket. But it's just one of those things where it's like, if you love the art, support the art. If you hate the person so much that you can't support it, or don't like you don't like that they're doing this in this book, stop buying it. Stop talking about it. you're only gonna make people go and check it out.
Yeah, very true. Damion, I better let you go. Right, I'm gonna go and watch this football match as well. But I'll finish this within the next day or so, and I'll send you a JPEG now as well.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna send you a JPEG of this, and when it's done, I'm gonna send it. I want to put a real kind of psychedelic, spacey kind of background on it as well, right? And colors flying all over the place and all the rest of it.
I love other people's version of traveling through the Omniverse than mine. Mine is like sort of this Glenda the Good Witch. He has this like sort of bubble, like a bubble of physics he has around him, and then he's just kind of shooting through. But I kind of like other people's better. So anytime anybody's like, I want to draw it in this, I'm like, feel free, have as much fun as you want. Don't worry about sticking to anything. It's all conceptual anyway, and at the end of the day, not real. So have as much fun as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good fun day, man. We've got to do this again. I'll try and get this to you by Monday. I don't know how your time is fixed, but maybe 24 hours countdown, we can maybe do something again.
I've got a couple of days left, but I've also, because it's Indiegogo, I can do what's called in demand. So when the campaign ends, whatever money I've accumulated will come through, but then it'll still be there. So people can still go back and it's more like an ordering type situation at that point.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with Indiegogo. When I went there, I realized, this is very different to Kickstarter.
It really is. And design-wise, structurally, and you can pick a Kickstarter model too. That's the part that I'm like, why do they even have this? Like, who would say yes to this? And then when I start looking at the campaign, I'm going, a lot of this is going to come out of my pocket, which I don't mind in this case. If it were like something else, I might go, come on, guys. In this case, I'm not super hurt if that happens because it's going to a good cause. So
yeah. Okay, man. All right. You take care. I'll speak to you again soon.
I'll talk to you later, man. You have a good one.
Cheers.
For your match.
Thanks. Cheers. Good night. Or good morning.
I was gonna say.
Good night for me.
All right. All right. Well, that's about it, folks. I'm going to play a video real quick so you can get a gist of what we're doing. That's my music going. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And if you didn't join us live, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you watched to the end, because here's the secret. Anybody that watches this all the way to the end, if you back our Kickstarter within the next Kickstarter, I keep saying Kickstarter, and I'm live. I can't even fix it. Back our Indiegogo campaign within the next 3 days, you'll automatically get an action figure. I'm gonna throw that out there. You'll get it for free. No shipping. I'll pay for shipping. I will pay for the figure. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm gonna do it. Why? Because I love you. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day.